Hi everyone, my name is Gabrielle Grandel, functional medicine nutritionist and National Board and Functional Medicine Certified Health Coach. And I have some other various certifications, one of them being in methylation and clinical nutrigenomics, as well as in coaching and reversing cognitive decline around Dr. Del Bredesen's RECODE program. I work very intimately with a functional medicine psychiatrist as well, helping folks to not start medications if they don't choose to, if they're suffering with some mental health issues, and also how to successfully taper down off of medications when appropriate using nutrition and lifestyle interventions. I have also come to learn that I have a genetic predisposition for developing Alzheimer's myself, having what's called an ApoE4 allele, and that puts me at a little higher risk. And so I have a really vested interest in understanding more about brain health and mental health and ways that we can improve that. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about some things we can do. We've learned recently about a very important protein that is intimately tied with brain health, and this protein is called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It is the most important protein in a group called neurotropins, and BDNF helps to support the neurons in our brain in different ways, including development of new neurons, the differentiation between the two, function of these neurons, and their survival. BDNF is tied into what's known as neurogenesis, which is the growth of new brain cells or new neurons. Also involved in what's known as neuroplasticity, which is how these neurons connect with one another in their networks. We know that the brain is plastic. It is like malleable plastic, and that we can influence the connections positively the more that we expose it to positive contributors. Many people think that that they are who they are, and that their brain is the way that it is over time. And I'm here to tell you that that's actually not true, that we consistently can influence our brain for the positive. We know that reduced levels of BDNF when compared to the average population were found in folks that were smokers, also those that had dementia or Alzheimer's, those of an advanced age, and those that had family history of developing dementia or cognitive decline. It is a predictive marker for neurodegeneration. And so we want to think about ways that we can maximize our BDNF levels, because we know that maximizing our BDNF levels actually improves our likelihood of not developing any of these neurodegenerative diseases. There was a JAMA study from Boston University that followed a group of adults for 10 years, and it found that individuals that had the highest baseline BDNF levels developed dementia 50% less than those that were compared to the lowest levels of BDNF. So what that means is that maximizing BDNF levels in your life, that you then are 50% less likely to develop these diseases. We also know that BDNF is tied with depression, OCD, and schizophrenia. So what are some ways that we can increase BDNF? Physical activity, exercise, number one. So we want to be moving our bodies. We want to be increasing that blood flow to the brain. It's believed that this helps to open up what's called the blood-brain barrier, and actually increases brain tissue. We found that there is a linear relationship between exercise intensity and the creation of BDNF. A study in the Journal of Neurology showed that those who had genetic susceptibility for Alzheimer's had reduced biomarkers for Alzheimer's with those that had a higher amount of physical activity versus a lower amount. So the BDNF is actually released by the brain at 2 to 3 times more when we are exercising versus being sedentary. All movement produced BDNF. What are some suggestions to get moving? Well, we've heard these recommendations of 30 minutes, 5 times a week, and that's a really good goal. So trying to, work to moderate to vigorous exercises is important, but just starting with getting active and just moving your body every day, picking something that appeals to you, and, keeping it interesting, maybe changing it up if that makes sense for you. So is it just going on a walk, or, taking the stairs at work, parking a little further in the parking lot? Maybe you like to dance around the house. Maybe you want to do some yoga, or do something like ClassPass, which is, gives you an option to work out at different locations and do different types of activities. There is a free app that you can download called the 7-Minute Workout app. And so, if you're having troubles getting started or finding time, we can find 7 minutes, during the day to get our bodies moving and to produce more BDNF. Stress, right? So stress is something that we want to work on reducing and managing. Stress actually ramps up the centers of the brain that modulate mood and cognition and attention and memory. In animal studies, we showed that prolonged stress actually reduced the activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is where we have higher level order tasks that we're trying to perform. And it also activated the amygdala, which brought on more survival mode instincts and actions. So the more stress on the animals, the more they forgot their higher order tasks, because that energy was being shifted to these other areas to try and compensate for the stress. But what's really beautiful is that the brain actually begins to rewire the moment that we handle the stress better. Nature and sunshine. We have been evolving with the sun for millennials. We have a symbiotic relationship with the sun. It's so much more of a complex mechanism that there's many more benefits outside of just the vitamin D that we get it, which is really critical and important. But we want to get out in the sunshine and expose our skin and our eyeballs to the sun. And it's cheaper than any food or supplement out there, and it's available to us all the time. Meditation. Meditation increases those centers of the brain that are associated with peace and an overall sense of well-being. Even 1 minute of meditation can be really, really powerful. And we know that when we are under the influence of chronic stress or acute stress, that we have an influx of cortisol and elevated cortisol. And when we have elevated cortisol, we have lower levels of BDNF. It decreases those levels. So if you're just getting started with meditation, there are a few apps that you might want to consider. And I've listed them here: Calm, Headspace, and Insight Timer. And, there's options for guided meditation. There's options for group meditation. And so I encourage you to take a look. Fasting can be very protective for brain health. Now, there are some contraindications around fasting. It's not right for everybody, but for majority of people, it can be really beneficial. Dr. David Perlmutter is a well-known functional neurologist, and he recommends for his patients to do 24 to 48-hour fast 4 times a year and 1 24-hour fast per week. We know that when we are fasting, that the fasting actually depletes the liver glucose stores, and it prompts our fat cells to release fats. And after not having calories for approximately 14 hours or so, we start to break down and produce those ketones. And the ketones are what stimulate the BDNF production. There was a study with mice that they did where they fasted the mice for 1 day, and just in 1 day, it increased their BDNF production by 50%. It also increases mitochondria function. And we know that we have more mitochondria, our energy powerhouses, in our muscles and in our brain. Who would I be to not talk about nutrition and how food can play a role in improving brain function and building a better brain? One of the things we want to really consider is eating high flavonoid foods. And there are many out there. And so I invite you to take a look, so you can find a list, or I'm happy to provide that to you if you want to reach out to me. But high flavonoid foods, also green tea, and what's called anthocyanins, which are a type of phytonutrient that are found in dark blue, purple, and black foods. Blueberries and blackberries and olives and cacao and red cabbage and purple carrots and things of this nature. Also, spices and herbs like rosemary and curcumin. Curcumin is the active constituent in turmeric, and these are really rich in antioxidants. Also, considering things like nitric oxide rich foods like watermelon and spinach, beets being a very rich and abundant source of nitric oxide, which helps to improve blood flow and circulation without increasing blood pressure. And then omega-3 essential fatty acids. So whether we're getting these from fish, through supplementation, through things like chia and walnuts and flax, these are all very critical to brain health and overall health in general. And we don't make these omega-3s in our body, so we have to get them through outside sources. The gut-brain connection is huge. When there is an ideal environment in the gut, oftentimes that will lead to a more ideal environment in the brain, and vice versa. And they highly influence one another and are highly connected. So we want to think about things that we can do to help improve our gut health as well, and help to influence the bacteria that are living there. So eating fiber, and whether that be through vegetables, ideally, or could it be through nuts and seeds, beans and peas, fruits, whole grains. All of these things have different types of fibers, and we want to eat a variety of those things. Fermented food is another good option. So something like sauerkraut or fermented pickles, kimchi. Not only do these things have different beneficial bacteria strains, but they also have the fiber present, which then feeds those bacteria so that they can proliferate and thrive. And whenever we have enough of those friendly bacteria and we have enough fiber in our diet, we can make what's called short chain fatty acids. And short chain fatty acids are sort of the main fuel source for the cells of the colon. And one of the most important types of short chain fatty acids is something called butyrate. And the brain loves butyrate. So the more we can do to help increase our levels of butyrate, the more that we can increase BDNF. We can also do things like resistant starches, which would be like legumes and potatoes, green bananas, rice. The key is that we cook these things and then we cool them down, and it changes the composition of the starch to what's known as a resistant starch. And this helps to feed the friendly bacteria. Also vegetables with high cellulose fibers like cruciferous vegetables, again, nuts and seeds, leafy greens, sprouts, whole grains. All of these things are going to increase neuroplasticity. And that is the name of the game. So I hope that this was really helpful for you. I wanted to let you know that if you would like to maybe discuss working together, I do offer free 20-minute phone consultations to see if it's a good fit and talk through, what your challenges might be to see if I can help you out. You can reach me at 972-930-0260. I can also be reached by email at gabrielle@livingwelldallas.com or on social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under Gabrielle Grandel. And I would love the opportunity to help serve you and to help you to reach your health goals and to help improve your brain and build a better brain. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.